Hello, welcome. I'm Helene. If you're here, take a seat. If I'm just talking to myself to the future, I am reacting to Housewives of Potomac. They open up down to the house where everybody's coming to get prepared for the dinner that they're having. Um, of course, Giselle is complaining about the amenities, etc. Then they finally go out to the outside area to have a fancy Caribbean crab boil at the table. They begin to have a discussion. The discussion goes into Eddie. Has Eddie talk to his mother? Ashley asks Eddie that. Eddie says, "Well, out of the blue, randomly, she gave me a call and it's baby steps. The door is cracked for her to continue that line of communication. Everybody's encouraging it. Dr. Osefa goes into that's all she wanted. She encourages that. And so then it continues into um, a conversation about the statutory things. And then Mia's husband comes to the table. It seems like he's been antsy walking around, and he says, "This has been fun. Um, I could do a lot of other things like sleep." Almost poking at what happened on Van, I guess that was supposed to be. And then Giselle pipes up to Captain Cape for Ashley. Ashley then uh pipes up and basically was like, "You don't remember what you did and and he goes, no, she brings up what happens on the bus, and he goes, "What are you talking about?" He said, "You don't remember what you did? You got Alzheimer's." Ultimately, she said amnesia first, then Alzheimer's, and Mia was like, "You don't even have to say that," and then went to commercial. We come back. I forgot to say, Dr. Osefo asks Eddie and Karen to go to the side. Now, when we come back, they're having that discussion about Ashley and Mia's husband, G, I believe that's his name. G the, apologizes to Ashley. Ashley goes, he apologizes with adding at the end, "I meant what I said." And Ashley goes, "Well, you didn't have to add that to the end of the apology." He goes, "Well, that's the truth." Ashley goes, "Listen, I didn't need that apology. And though I agree with a particular type of apology not being necessary, I feel like Ashley is full of it because the premise of this whole show is to do something and make people apologize. So I think this is a whole front. It's just for the moment to have some level of contention, because the beginning of the show, Karen wanted an apology from Giselle for something. Giselle wanted an apology from Karen for something. It's all this show is about. Now we down to um, Dr. Osefo and Aunt Eddie and Karen trying to get Karen in a cake. I'm not interested in that part. So Mia throws on the cake for her husband and says, "You don't have to say Alzheimer's. You don't have to wish that on nobody." And then Ash was like, "I said, was she, whatever." She basically was, "I didn't say that. I know what I said, whoop de woo." And then finally Mia gets to the part we've been waiting for, where she picks up her drink and say, "Where's your husband?" And Ashley goes, "At home with my kids." And Mia goes, "Are you sure?" And though I am with the shade of it all, I hope y'all keep that level of energy for Mia, because that is deep. She cut into the quick with that question. We all know the creepiness and the actions of her husband. So is that not deep? Let's see. So Mia looked pleased with herself, and Candace down to the confessional basically saying a big girl was going to retaliate. And that Ashley thinks she can come with guns ablaze to anybody, ain't nobody gonna say boo hoo. And Candace is being a spectator that we all are. So Candace go, it's like a tennis match. It's back and forth, bitch. It's a good spectator sport, I guess. So they ask Ashley what she need, and then not Candace, Mia goes, "If she needs anything, get some dick, big black dick, I guess." And then Rob was like, if I need anything, I'll get it from Robin. You want to give me a hug? And of course, Robin gives her a hug. All right. So Mia's down to the confessional making some points that aren't consistent. When I go on vacation, if I want to sleep, I get to sleep. Wherever I want to sleep, I'm asleep. That is enough for the play. But when it comes to Mia brought up, we ain't never seen your husband. He ain't never around. And one could say the same to Robin when it comes to her man. And one could say the same to Batman when it comes to her man. It's consistency for me. So Mia's husband is trying to resolve it, and now Ashley is still trying to poke. All the while, they're getting Karen to come to the table in this fucking cake. This cake thing is obviously trash. Look, we know who coming, we know how they dress, and we know what it is. This is corny. On to the next. So Dr. Osefa is told to rate how she hosted this trip. She says she did 10, and she goes down the list. And I noticed that she classified Batman and Robin as children. And I co-signed that last week about Robin. Let's continue. So they keep going in and in on this, her saying Alzheimer versus Alzheimer's. I have a slight trigger for that because I had a racist high school teacher, and what was his name? Lieutenant Bill. He was, because I went to a military. Anyway, so Lieutenant Bill, he taught economics. And I had a friend who was saying old timers. And I was like, no, I think it's Alzheimer's. And she goes, no, it's old timers. So we asked the teacher. And the teacher would call us ghetto and stuff in class. But we thought it was an innocent enough question to ask. He goes, no, only ghetto children call. That's only for the ghetto. It's Alzheimer's with a Z. So this word triggers me in a way. But let's continue. Of course, Batman and Robin complains about the trip. So everybody's receiving their invitations to Karen's wedding. I'm not explaining the invitations because I don't care. Mia and her husband discussed the fact that they tried to have a staycation for their anniversary and they left the children with the mother. The mother got overwhelmed and kept calling Mia down to her vacation because she didn't know what to cook for the kids and got in an argument with G about it. And then they came on back home after 2 hours of being out. And she didn't want her children to face the same abandonment issues that she faced because she knows her mother flees when shit gets tough. So apparently, when they got back, she got into an argument with G. G says he says nothing, and then she stormed out. Mia's mother, got into an argument and then stormed out. So basically, it's a narrative of what triggered her mommy issues. So Giselle and her children go down to or Batman and her children go down to, I'ma call her Giselle while she's with her children. Go down to, looks like a uh, nursery, plant nursery. Let's see what this is about. So she's trying to go around and pick flowers for her home, and the kids is not liking her taste. So they go into this conversation about Batman going to the wedding, and should she bring a date? And she's asking the girls. The girls are mixed on that as far as answers are concerned. But she then asked, should she start dating? They go, yeah. And the girls said, well something, and Giselle said something, and then the girls go, well, it's looking like, no, she goes, we don't want you to be old and gross and die alone. And she was like, I ain't dying alone. That's what Batman said. I ain't dying alone. And the girls the girls said, well, it's looking like it. They called her ass lonely. Lonely. I'm so lonely. Bless her heart. So Batman claims she down to the dating scene, and she's dating someone. They ask who it is. Now she wants to be hush hush, I don't want all that shit. But the girls was like, we just don't want you to be alone. Whoop the whoop whoop the bam. They like, are you dating? Are you wanting to be? Do you want it to be serious? And she goes, no, not right now. And she's like, so why are you dating? And I want to know that too. At a particular age, what are you dating for? Are you dating just, and then her daughter, oldest daughter, says she dating just to have something to do. So Batman is posing to her children the fact that they have observed that she is most emotionally unavailable, and as Iyanla calls it, neck down dead. And they basically, she said, and I haven't been emotionally vulnerable. And the girls go, we know, we was there. So Giselle posits to her daughters, I don't want you to be me. And the girls is like, it's a pathology. I don't know what else to learn from because I don't have good examples. So Batman is taking all this to heart, as she should. We show up thinking one thing, and what we are teaching the generation behind us, particularly those who are our children. I don't have children, but I know what it is to have to help someone grow up, and you think you doing one thing, and all of a sudden you think you're protecting them from something, or they don't see a thing, but when they'll come back to you with your shit in your face because you are their teacher by example. And Giselle is caught off guard that she's their example, and a poor example at that, in that particular demonstration of life. And both her and their father, as they pointed out. Which is interesting because the church, particularly Jamal Bryant, if y'all ever get a chance, look up the Lexi show and look up the debate they had with Carlton Pearson and Jamal Bryant, and I'll tell you what type of Christianity he has. It's very old school, traditional, and for him to have that perspective and be that rigid on the talking points of that debate, but not be rigid like that in his romantic life in relation to the Christian dogma and doctrine, to me it gives hypocritical. But I'm not one to judge because I don't care. So Giselle is trying to give them a lesson based on her mistakes, and they said, "But girl, the best leadership is an example, and you're not leading by example. You're not taking the advice that you are giving to us." And the girls say, the other twin go, and also you really are emotionally like a vampire. You're just dead. So she's trying to tell them, except that I'm gonna change my behavior. And the homegirl go, bless your heart, but it's been 50 years now. And that's where the conversation ended. But that was the most interesting thing in this whole show thus far. Them girls got her together, and they were respectful, succinct, and correct and truthful. Now Ashley down to somewhere. I don't really care. I'm not gonna go too in depth with Ashley because, like always, I don't care. On my slow fast forward, I realized that she don't mind when she pops the titty out ever. Why every scene with a baby in it, the titty's coming out. Bless her heart. So Ashley's down to the counseling session. I'm assuming I fast forward. I'm at the end of it, and I guess they're talking about Michael and Beelzebub head ass. Basically, it's like he's trying to meet her need. She's trying to meet his needs. He says his needs been being met. The therapist goes, "Is maybe he doesn't need that right now." I guess they're talking about sex, and then what I'm noticing, she's distracted by her child, as you would be, I guess. Continue with the slow fast forward. What I think is Beelzebub is down to this therapist to talk about how she can get that thing back with him, and she don't trust the fact that Michael is not going to keep it at home, and there's a mountain of behavioral patterns that would suggest she would be right, even though, pardon me, that is not what she is saying. For my slow fast forward, I'm only getting bits and pieces. I can't stomach Ashley for too long. So we down with Dr. Osefo, and it appears to be her mother and her daughter taking photos apparently for the candle line. So Eddie just went along and just did the business for her, and now it's almost ready to be launched apparently. I mean, I'm indifferent to Dr. Osefo, but she bores me, and so I might give her the slow fast forward too. So we get to a part where Dr. Osefo is talking to her mother, talking about apologize, and apparently her mother didn't apologize to her, but her mother recollects it all differently, and Dr. Osefo is taken aback. So Dr. Osefo's mother is feeling attacked apparently, and she's about to get the fuck up out of there. Look like Dr. Osefo was trying to make a scene of this conversation, and Dr. Osefa's mother really wasn't here for it, so she wanna bounce. They trying to convince her to stop. So Beelzebub head ass is down to the Watergate hotel. I guess that was the hotel that is the Watergate scandal. Anyway, I guess she's planning something for her and her creepy husband. I don't care. I'm fast forward. So apparently, Michael used to own a landmark. Operative word is used to. I am trying to watch this, but I really can't stand Beelzebub, and her husband is. The Darby is so icky to me, even on screen, that I can't stomach him. And this whole trying to be sexy with this Mickey Figgy is not for me. I'm gonna have to fast forward. So the Darby is against talking to Candace and Chris, and then Ashley goes into explaining Chris, and I think she discussed Mia and her husband as well. I really don't care for her perspective. I don't think she is honest. I think both of them are criminal, and both of them are irritating to my spirit. The Darby keeps bringing up Juan, bless his heart. He got a thing going on. Damn, the way he discussed Juan was like more than he's ever talked about his own Beelzebub headed wife. I gotta side out Juan Dixon now. Juan Dixon is looking very suspect, and not for being in relationship with Darby if that's what they are in, but he is. I'm side on him that he would even consider this person in his cipher. But bless your heart, Juan, you might be one of him then. They all judge us by the company we keep. So apparently Batman is down to some type of counseling session. That looks like the counselor or therapist that Candace had last season. We'll see what they talking about. This therapist is throwing it at Batman. That's what's happening, because ain't no way Batman is a real genuine person. But let's see. Maybe I don't know. It's only a highlight of their lives. But apparent to the character they display, Batman ain't shit. I will say this, that Batman does look presentable in her attire down to this affair, to this therapy session. I know he looked familiar. It was Batman's therapist before. So they must, so her children must have went deeper into this conversation, because she cites that they said that she is emotionally unavailable for them as well, not even as a display of relationship. Let's see what's this about. She brings up the fact that she reconnected with Jamal, and the therapist was like, why? She don't have a good answer. So essentially she said she wanted to get the family back together, and Jamal, before the pandemic, they were back together in each other's presence, and that he was looking at her different with more respect. But beloved, these aren't adding up to why you want to double back. Why couldn't that be just a way to show maybe you did want the fantasy of what it could have been, is what I'm hearing. The potential of yesterday's promise. So Giselle says she need a man, she want a man, but she don't want to have to answer to a man. Then the therapist goes into, you answer to each other, and what example have you been for your daughters in that way? And she goes, not a good one. Going back, he brings up the fact that you left this man and you went back to this man, and then you leave him again. What is that example? And she was like, I haven't been a good example. And he said, you are emotionally cold based on what your daughters are saying. and then she goes into her head to try to articulate something, and he goes to tell her what, basically let your walls down, to converse, I guess, from a space of vulnerability. Whatever that is that has got her walls up, she calls it emotionally tough. It really is disengaging. It's very disassociative. That's why I feel like she can interact with Robin in the way she does, because it's not based in anything substantial. It's no sentimentality to their thing. It's just you're the puppet and I'm letting you dance. Dude said when your walls come down, there's a beauty that comes out. And she that piqued her interest because you could tell her value system is within the superficial realm of aesthetics. But bless her heart. I think Giselle feels afraid to be emotional. I'm not gonna even speculate. I'm gonna just say it's a feeling I get that Giselle has been able to operate on a very superficial level throughout her 50 years of life, as her daughters even pointed out, and thus not been required to do much and doesn't know how to even navigate at that level of humanity. It's always been, you see the tacky attire she wears, the lack of showing up with storylines for us. It's all of that that's been permitted for her to coast to various spaces. But I guess if it's never required to go deeper, why should I could protect myself and not. I'm confused how a 50-year-old woman does not know that vulnerability, it's helpful in relation to anyone, particularly her children. Bless her heart. She's a case study. Bless her heart. So that is Housewives of Potomac. It really wasn't given. The most interesting part of it was Batman's children. I'll call them Giselle. I'll call her Giselle in relation to her children. Giselle's children. Outside of that, this was a Huff episode. Well, that's it for now. To the ethos. Tell the future I said so.